Hey guys, my name's Andrew. In this video today I'm going to be showing you how to remove your hair system, how to clean it, and then how to reapply it to your head. So the very first thing that we need to do is we obviously need to remove the system that you've already got on your head. So the one that I've got on my head here is a slightly shorter one. I have two from Lord Hair and it's a shorter one that I sometimes wear, but I do prefer the longer one on me as a style. So what I'm doing here is I'm using this C22 solvent remover spray from Walker Tape to start from the back and to soften the glue that is holding it to my head. So this is softening of the tape glue, and I'm starting from the back just because I don't want to damage the lace at the front. The lace at the front is the most delicate part of this hair system, so if you start from the front and use some force you can rip it, and yeah, it's just generally not a good idea. So as you can see, I'm just spraying down both sides, moving towards the front to really soften it and make sure that it pulls away quite easily from my scalp. So once you've managed to get it off your scalp, you're going to look absolutely stunning, just as stunning as I look right now. So it's off, that's really good. The next thing to do is we need to get rid of all the glue that is on your scalp. Some parts of the glue normally come down into the bits of hair that are on either side of your head and around the back. So the first thing that we need to do is also get it off the hairline, because along the hairline is generally where you have the most glue, you see. And as you can see, it's all stuck in my hair at the side and stuff. So just make sure that you spray a decent amount of solvent remover spray onto your scalp and into your hair at the sides. Give it a little bit of time to soften the glue, and then you can start to kind of use a bit of force to scrub this off your head. You might need to work in different directions and to move it around a little bit. You might need to reapply and get some fresh roll and do it again. I would use kitchen roll for this. Do not use tissue paper because it will just shred to pieces and stick in all the glue, and it's going to be a right mess. Whereas kitchen roll is obviously harder, it's more well stuck together, so you can scrub and use force and it doesn't come away and stick into the glue. I'm just rubbing the glue into the bits of the hair at the side because that's the part where I get bits of glue stuck. And I want to just make sure that I can really get those out before I start to move forward with cleansing it off properly. So yeah, like I said, don't be afraid to use a bit of force at this point. You need to get the glue off, so do whatever you need to do to get it off. Okay, so at this point most of the glue should be off your head. There shouldn't be any big clumps or lumps, and the next thing to do is to smother your head in dishwashing liquid. This is designed to obviously get the grease off plates, so it helps to break down the glue and the sticky residue that's left on your scalp and in your hair, and this will just make sure that it's all completely out and we can start again. I'm just massaging it into the bits of the hair at the side to make sure that I get all that sticky out. And once you've really worked it around, all over the head, all around the hairline, then you need to rinse it. You might need to do this more than once. You just need to feel your head and just feel if it still feels sticky or if there's any clumps of glue or anything, you need to do it again. So the next thing to do is to get some shave butter or shave oil, or you can use conditioner. Anything that makes the scalp and the skin and the hair quite greasy and slippy is what you need. And make sure your scalp's a little bit wet, and then you can massage this in circular motions. The idea here being that your hair grows in all different directions, so it's just to make sure that every single hair is coated in the product evenly, and it makes it nice and ready to be able to shave it off. Next, you need a good razor and some kitchen roll. I'm just using kitchen roll here because I'm not doing it at a sink or in the shower, but you can do this in the shower if you want. You need a really good razor because to shave your head you can't be using like cheap disposable razors. It will just pull your hair and it's going to hurt. You need a really good one. I think this one that I'm using here is from, I think it's Dollar Shave Club. So they have some really nice products, and I love this razor. Like, I only have to go over it once and it just pulls the hair off. It doesn't drag my hair, it just comes off very easily. So obviously I've done this before many times, so I've got a shape that I follow. I can see where I need to shave up to, and then the easiest thing to do is just to use one hand to feel the surface of your scalp in different directions. If you can feel any spiky bits or any patches, you need to go back over it again, maybe in a slightly different direction, to make sure that it's all completely smooth. And then once you're happy with it, you're happy with the shape that you've shaved, there's no patches or lumps and bumps, then you can just go ahead and give your head a really good washing to get all that kind of shave oil or conditioner or anything off it. The next thing to do is to smother the hair system in solvent remover spray again. You can submerge it in it, but you will go through this stuff very quickly if you do it like that. Just give it a really good spraying and then just leave it for 15 minutes. The next thing to do is we need to remove the tape that was already on the hair system. So I've sprayed it, I've left it for a little bit. This makes the tape very soft and tacky, and you can just remove the tape quite easily. It's up to you how you do this part. Sometimes I do it dry without spraying it. Sometimes I do it forget and completely just do it wet like this. It doesn't really matter because it will come off both ways. I just find that when it's dry, it's not quite as gooey and sticky. So you might prefer to do it dry. But the objective of this is just that you get all of the bits of tape off that were on it previously. The next thing to do once all the tape off is to take a spoon, and you need to scrape it along the perimeter of the hair system, using a bit of force and kind of dragging it towards you. That's the kind of method I use. This helps to just take any of the glue up off that kind of circle, you see, like this. And it gets the majority of it off for you, so that then we can move forwards with kind of scraping the rest off and then cleaning it properly. The next thing we need to do is we need to take a nail brush like this, spray some more adhesive remover all over the system, and the idea with this is we're getting the rest of the glue out of that lace front hairline. You can see it all there in clumps coming off as I'm scraping it. So you need to make sure that you're going from the innermost part outwards. We're trying to force that glue up and out of that lace, so we don't want to be dragging it back into it. Some parts you might need to hold it down, you might need to be a bit rougher. Some bits you can just be quite gentle, it comes off. The longer you submerge it in solvent remover and leave it, the easier this glue will come off. Okay, so now it should all be out of the lace at the front. You shouldn't have any big clumps of glue or any sticky patches. The next thing that we need to do is we need to use that washing up liquid again to get all this kind of sticky, gluey residue off it. So kind of massage the washing up liquid up and out of the hair system, kind of down the hair, if you like. This makes sure that the glue is being pushed up and outwards rather than coming back down into kind of the part where you don't want it. Once you've massaged that washing up liquid all the way through, you need to give it a rinse in kind of lukewarm water. You might need to do this more than once. I generally do because I want to make sure all that glue is off, so I do it twice. But yeah, give it a good massaging with washing up liquid and give it a good rinse again. Once you're done with that, we need to use proper, good, real shampoo and conditioner to be able to restore the pH level of the hair and to also stop it from feeling like absolute straw. Washing up liquid obviously strips any oil, any moisture, everything out of the hair. So it's important that we replace it so that the hair looks natural and also feels nice. I'm using Rawa shampoo and conditioner because I really like them. I've used it for a long time, and in kind of the 7 years that I did hair, this is the best shampoo and conditioner that I've ever used. It's meant to be made from organic, natural rainforest oils. And I just find that it makes the hair really super soft, and it actually feels like it does something to your hair. It's fairly expensive. It's kind of like £35 a bottle, £32 a bottle, something like that. But I really do believe that you don't need a lot, and also you kind of get what you pay for, I think, with shampoos and conditioners. If you don't want to shell out a decent amount of money for a shampoo and conditioner, I'd recommend maybe something like baby shampoo. Baby shampoo is made for children and their eyes and their hair, you know, to make sure that it's not dangerous or contains any harsh chemicals. So it is quite soft and nourishing for the hair. So yeah, maybe baby shampoo. But I definitely recommend investing in a really good conditioner, because conditioners, there's a huge difference between cheap ones and expensive ones. The expensive ones will definitely make the hair feel soft, smooth, and give it a nice shine, whereas cheap conditioners just aren't really going to do a whole lot. So yeah, if you're going to invest in anything, buy a really good conditioner. At this point, it's really important to give this hair system a really good wash, in cold water preferably. Cold water helps to close the cuticle of the hair shaft, so it makes it softer, shinier, smoother. Warm water does the opposite, it opens the cuticle. So yeah, make that water as icy cold as you can. Give it a really, really good rinse, because if any of that conditioner is left in the hair, it's going to be sticky, greasy. The tape is not going to stick to the hair system properly. The glue in your front hairline is not going to stick down properly. So I would spend a good few minutes giving this a really, really thorough rinse. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do after you've dried the hair system off, preferably dry it with kind of a medium heat on a low speed, and try and dry like the front hairline hair backwards, because that will make it easier to stick on. So we're going to apply the tape to this circular ring of the hair system. Make sure you use some nice sharp scissors, because the tape can be quite hard to cut because it gets stuck to the scissors if you're not careful. And then you want to apply it to this kind of skin perimeter, but as close to the edge as possible. We need to leave a few gaps in between each piece of tape that we apply, because when you wash your hair, when you shampoo it, when you're in the shower, there needs to be a way for the water to run out of the hair system. So if you just build kind of a perimeter of tape with no gaps in it, the water will sit against the tape, ultimately go under it, make it softer. It's going to run the glue down your head, and it's not going to stay on your head as long. Your head needs to breathe and the water needs to escape. So therefore just leave some gaps in between each piece of tape. We use tape around the skin perimeter just because it manages to stick it down to your head a lot better, I find, than the glue. You obviously need to use the glue at the front because it needs to be transparent. It needs to hold the lace down so that it looks natural. So that's why I would use tape around the edges and glue at the front. Make sure that you push the pieces of tape on really well, and then once they're all pushed down properly, you can use the edge of your nail to be able to just pull the corner of the tape up away from the other sticky side of it. Then we're ready to stick it on our head. So what I'd advise first is that you put some high alcohol hand sanitizer on your scalp, and then make sure that you use a little bit of a hairdryer to dry it off, and make sure that everything is bone dry before you apply this, because obviously if there's any moisture, this is not going to stick well. The hand sanitizer will just help to dry up any oil or residue that's on your scalp, and make sure that it's really as dry and prepared as possible for sticking this as well as possible to your scalp. When we're going to put it on, it does take a little bit of messing about to make sure that it's in the right place. I kind of twist it back on itself so that no hair is hanging down in my eyes and I can see where the front hairline is. I then raise my eyebrows, and it's supposed to sit, this is what people say, at the top of the ridges of the lines of your head, plus about a finger's width. That is kind of naturally where your hairline would start. So make sure that it's in the middle, make sure that it's in the right place and you're happy with it. And once you're happy with it, push down the very front bit. And then using a little bit of tension to make sure it's tight and there's no air bubbles in it, you can start to gradually roll it on from the front to the back. And then spend a few minutes pushing this down to your scalp. We need the tape and the glue to adhere to your scalp, and make sure that the hair system's pushed on properly. So this is how it should look once it's been pushed on. The next thing I do is I apply some water in a spray bottle because obviously this is sticking everywhere and it looks a mess. It's not lying in the way that I want it to sit. I want my hair to all sit backwards, so it needs some more moisture added back to it now that it's stuck to my head. I then also use a little bit of leave-in conditioner because this helps to soften it and make sure that I can get a comb through it easier. And yeah, it just helps to give it a nice shine. I then use quite a wide tooth comb or a brush or a bristle brush, anything that you can find that has as little bristles on it as possible, as wide as possible, because this will go through your hair easier. I would start from the ends and work upwards. This just helps to get a few of the knots out and just make sure that it's nice and smooth. If you need to add a touch more leave-in conditioner to it, then do that. Make sure you hold the hair system so it doesn't move out of place and you're not pulling that glue away from your scalp. Just give it a bit of a brush through if you can, if you need to. I'm drying my front hairline backwards because I want it sitting backwards in that sort of style. So you need to think about the direction that you're using the hairdryer in to make sure that you're pushing it in the right direction in the way that you want it to sit, because obviously if you do it the opposite way to where you want it, it's not going to lie properly. I also like it in the style because it makes sticking your hair down very easy at the front because there's no hair hanging down and you can just see what you're doing. Okay, so once it's all dried, it should look like this. It should be nice and smooth and it should be back off your face if that's the style you're going for. But like I said, it makes it very easy to stick it down because you can really see what you're doing and there's no hairs hanging down. I'm just giving it a little bit of a brush to make sure any knots are out and that it's nice and ready to stick the front hairline down. Okay, next up is to glue the front hairline down. So I use the Ghost Bond adhesive glue, and I'm also using quite a flat ended brush that's not too large. So you need to make sure that you pull all that hair back and make sure that none of it is going to hang down because you don't want it getting in the glue. It's going to be very messy. So yeah, make sure that you pull it right back. Use the flat brush to spread it out and downwards. The idea is that we don't want any big clumps. We want it to be nice and smooth. Because obviously any clumps of glue are going to stick the hair together and it's going to be messy. So yeah, spread it nice and wide and you can go in different directions. I prefer to go a little bit further forward down my forehead because obviously it's quite hard to tell where the lace ends. But I would rather over glue than under glue because you will have to then go back in again and add more glue to make sure that it's stuck down at the very front. Because the Neo system is an A-shaped hairline, it obviously recedes a little bit towards either side and comes to a point at the front. So once we've applied one, I'd give it about 10-15 seconds until it's all gone transparent. There should be no white bits. We're then going to go in and apply a second. Again, scrape all your hair back. You don't want it falling down into this glue because it's going to be, again, very messy. And just do the same again, spread it out. I wouldn't go too close to those bits of your hair at the side because what I find happens is it kind of, with sweat and moisture and stuff, it starts to kind of move down into your hair a little bit and you can end up with kind of like a greasy looking point at the end. So yeah, don't go too close to your hair. So then you need to leave it for about a minute. What happens is the glue starts to go very tacky and as it starts to dry, we need to grab it at that point when it's really at its most sticky. So I use the other end of the paintbrush and I just start to kind of curl it down into the glue. Using a bit of force in the end of that paintbrush, push it down into the glue and kind of roll the paintbrush forward. kind of move it in a little bit of a circular motion whilst pushing down and forwards to make sure that it's nice and flat to the scalp. I would spend a good few minutes doing this. Don't worry about any bits of hair that go down into the glue. As you're going to see in a minute, it doesn't look great, but we will fix that afterwards. The most important thing here at this point is just to make sure that all the hair is fully stuck to your scalp, because any gaps in it obviously are kind of a starting point for it to come away from your head again. So yeah, we want that really stuck down at the front. And then I'd give it at least maybe 5 minutes just to dry. This is what I do because I obviously don't want to have to keep redoing this, so I would rather just give it as much time as it needs to dry properly. So this is what I was meaning when I said earlier about these bits that are stuck in the glue. This hairline is not looking very natural right now, but it's better to have it all stuck down. We're then going to go back in with some solvent remover and some kitchen roll. So just spray a little bit onto the kitchen roll. Again, make sure you're using kitchen roll, not tissue paper, not cotton pads. Oh my god, if you use kitchen tissue paper or cotton pads, you're going to know about it. All your hairline is going to have white fluffy bits in it, which you're really going to struggle to get out. So yeah, make sure you use kitchen roll because it doesn't break into pieces. So all I'm doing is just lightly kind of rubbing it along the hairline and my forehead where it still has glue in it. And as I'm doing it, I'm just pulling those bits of hair kind of forwards and up. This pulls them up out of the glue and just makes sure that it starts to look more natural. This will take a little bit of time, but just keep going with it and it will start to look better. The next thing I do is just to add a little bit of moisture back into it. Because I've used a hairdryer and a brush, it ends up being quite straight, and I much prefer the way that this looks when it's got a little bit of natural wave back to it. It doesn't sit quite as straight and unnatural, so I much prefer that. So this is my hair once it's all dry, once it's had a bit of time to dry naturally and it's got a bit of wave back to it. I think it looks amazing and I'm really happy that I did this and would recommend Lord Hair's product to anybody. It's not a massive amount of upkeep, especially if it gives you a full head of hair back, so I hope this video was helpful.